Our next hidden location was built to protect ships during World War II, but ended up as a hideaway for pirates. Between Kent and Essex, the Thames estuary is where the famous river meets the North Sea. And today, a group are taking a boat out from the Isle of Sheppey. Nothing remarkable about that. There's some great fishing to be had in these waters. But they're not in search of fish. They're looking for dinosaurs. Looming up from the murky depths, these four-legged monsters are relics from another age.
If I had to describe them to somebody who had never seen them before, I would say it's a bit like War of the Worlds.
They're quite mystifying, really.
They look like something out of Star Wars.
This isn't a robot invasion force sent from the future. These armoured quadrupeds are the Red Sands sea forts. They were built during World War II by pioneering engineer Guy Maunsell to protect the world's busiest shipping lane from the Luftwaffe.
Maunsell decided that it was possible to build an armed fortification in the sea to act as both an early warning system for land and also to break up these bomber formations.
Construction started in Gravesend, and in a matter of months, the forts were ready to be towed to their final destination.
There are 7 towers to each fort connected by steel bridges, each fort 750 tons of reinforced concrete.
The design was cutting edge, but for the troops stationed on board, it was business as usual.
Soldiers on stilts. That's the Army's name for the men who garrison the sea forts in the Thames estuary. Approachable only by boat, it's the loneliest job in the Army.
But regular visits from across the Channel kept the troops on their toes. By the end of the war, the gunners claimed 22 Luftwaffe planes, 30 V-1 flying bombs, and 1 unfortunate U-boat. It's now 75 years since the forts were built. They may have survived the Luftwaffe, but today, rust is the fort's biggest enemy.
Strangely enough, Guy Maunsell said with care and maintenance they would last 200 years, but they've never had any care and maintenance.
Project Red Sand are a team of volunteers dedicated to preserving the forts.
We have a team of work parties that try to stop the flow of the rust that's accumulating at a very rapid rate over the last few years.
The purpose of the trip today is actually to assess what has happened to the Red Sands radio mast.
The radio mast is a relic from the second invasion to hit the Thames estuary. Pirate radio. Operating in international waters, the pirates were broadcasting a brand new sound, pop music.
Offshore radio came at the right time, there was no question about it. It was the culture, it was the music, it was the fashion, it was everything slotted perfectly in. It was kind of like the internet of its day.
Unoccupied since the war, the Thames forts soon became home to new offshore stations, and 16-year-old Bob Leroy was one of their youngest DJs.
When the school holidays came, I set sail from Whitstable on the Harvester and found ourselves alongside these huge great structures in the middle of the sea with black smoke belching out underneath, these horrible noises of generators and cranes going up and down with people's baggage. I remember to this day, I just wanted to go home. It was not the place I wanted to be.
Bob stuck with it and soon became a household name. But life at sea was far from glamorous.
It was a devil's own job to be really clean, especially in a dirty place like this, when you're handling fuel oils and what have you. And you used to go ashore smelling a bit like a skunk, I've got to say.
For 3 years, the pirates ruled the airwaves. But eventually the government banned them, and once again the forts were abandoned. The clock is ticking for these architectural Goliaths, but the next chapter in their history could be a colourful one.
Painted Oceans is the bravest, boldest, probably craziest mural project ever conceived. It involves taking half a dozen of the world's very, very best mural artists and getting them to come and paint these sea forts.
You heard that right. Painted Oceans wants to turn the Thames forts into an art installation.
They call it street art. Me, I call it graffiti, but there you are.
I don't think we should see it simply as defacing the space. It's really setting out an awareness that mural art can be utterly extraordinary.
When painting begins, the project could be mapped on Google Earth, allowing the whole world to enjoy the spectacle.
There are people who think that the towers ought to be allowed to fade away. I think it's more exciting to do something brilliant with them before they fall over.